We thought we'd sort of make a sort of short video on why you should be interested in programming, why you should actually learn programming. Now, we're going to mention three key reasons. One is that, frankly, it's a new language in the 21st century. It'll be very difficult to live through successfully in the 21st century, we think, without having a sense of programming. It's like any other language, just the way you're watching this video in English, you might be speaking French or Mandarin or Italian or Spanish or Japanese or Hindi or any other language. It's a way of communicating. It's a way of getting your point of view across. So in the same way, programming is a way of communicating. But what it does is that it actually helps to solve problems. And that's the way it communicates. It helps to solve problems. And the third is that it is fun. I mean, you often hear, learn this subject, it's fun, or learn that subject, it's fun. But one of the reasons why it's fun is because you can get started very quickly and you can start solving problems very quickly. And as soon as you sort of solve problems, there's a certain sort of excitement that comes by having solved that problem, right? You don't have to have an enormous amount of knowledge to solve problems, even with a small amount of knowledge. You can start solving small problems. And that's why it's kind of fun. So if you love solving problems, or if you want to get a sense of what it feels like to solve problems, then try your hand at programming. So if you decided to spend some time learning programming, what do you sort of expect to get from a skill set point of view? One, as we've already said, is the ability to solve problems. Solve problems through a particular lens, through the lens of programming. So that's one key takeaway. That's one key skill set that you will actually get, that is solving problems. And as you're using programming as a tool for solving problems, it's quite natural that you will also get programming skills. But what sits between programming skills at one end and problem solving at another? That is concepts and ideas. Concepts and ideas that are developed within programming, which make the whole process of programming much more structured and hence much more amenable to solve problems. So that's the sort of skill set point of view. But if you look at the mindset point of view, I mean, what's the mindset that you need to bring to the table if you want to be a successful programmer? Number one is that you need to practice. I mean, what we can do is we can offer perspectives, we can offer content, we can offer programs, we can offer problems. But the majority of the practice will actually have to be done by you. The second thing to remember is that actually in programming, it's quite easy to make mistakes. And those are not to be scared of. In fact, it's easy to make mistakes, but it's also easy to rectify those mistakes. It's also easy to make them correct. And that process has a lot of learning in it. And finally, you just simply have to ask a lot of questions. If there's something that you don't fully understand, go ahead and ask those questions. And in fact, feel free to actually post your questions here on this channel. We'll look at your questions and we'll certainly will revert back with any of the questions that you have. So when it comes to programming, what are the ways to teach and what are the ways to learn? In fact, one of the best ways to learn is actually to teach. But there are two sort of ways that you can go about it. One is you can say, here's a problem. Let's start with this problem and let's learn anything and everything that we need in order to solve that problem. On the other hand, what you can say is, let's start with basic rules of the game. Let's not worry about the problem first. Let's worry about the rules of the game. And then when we are comfortable enough with a few rules of the game, then let's go ahead and tackle a problem. And both of those points of view are absolutely correct. And in fact, what happens in the real world is you need to go between these two to build your expertise. Learn the rules of the game, solve a problem. Pose a larger problem, learn the rules of the game to solve that problem. So now let's come to the data science and AI stack, which I think provides an extremely compelling case for programming. So recall that the data science and AI stack had three components to it. It had a computing component, it had a mathematics component, and then when you combine the computing with the mathematics with data, you get the sort of data science, machine learning, AI layer. Now, simplistically put, when you're thinking of mathematics, one of the key advantages of mathematics is that gives you the power of abstraction. Now, let's give an example. Now, remember in high school, we sort of had these examples where we were thinking of two apples and three oranges. And then at some point of time, we said, no, we're not going to worry about two apples and three oranges. We'll worry about X apples and Y oranges. So essentially, we went from numbers, from reality to abstraction. And that's what, in a nutshell, in a simplistic way, what mathematics offers. Computing, again, if I were to sort of simplify it, allows a very nice framework for decomposing, for breaking up larger problems into smaller problems, solving the smaller problems individually, then bringing them together and solving a larger problem. So these two views of the world, the mathematics view of the world, simplistically put, is where you have the power of abstraction, and the computing view of the world, again, simplistically, having the ability to break up a larger problem into smaller problems, solve the smaller problems, and then put them back together. These two views of the world are actually very powerful. And they get even more powerful when you add data to it. So recall when we were talking about the data science and AI stack, then we have 12 buckets. And in those 12 buckets, the computing layer has 4 buckets, and in there, programming is an absolutely integral part.